What up, guys? So, it's been a minute since I did 3 rounds, so I'm going to give you guys a little 3 rounds light. And then next week, when I get back to California, a little more consistency, we'll get back to the 3 rounds where we're busting through the rounds, busting through the fight. Each subject 5 minutes like we were doing before. Love doing that show. Love the support you guys are giving it to me, but we've just been on the grind. I mean, in the last 7 weeks, we've worked 6 weekends. It's been a complete grind for me. But I appreciate you guys. The love and support, as always, has been tremendous. The news has been quick, though, this week. I was, it always happens quickly after pay-per-views, but this week it seems like everything's been going at like a lightning speed, from all the Cejudo Sterling news that's been covered all week to us knowing that Sean O'Malley's next, to Nate Diaz and Jake Paul getting their first press conference, and then Jamahal Hill had some interesting things to say about Jon Jones and his retirement. So first, let's start with this. UFC 290 just got released, the main event and the co-main event. Main event is Alexander and Yair. Co-main event is Brandon Moreno. Tremendous fight card. But it wasn't the one that they wanted. It will serve as the main event for International Fight Weekend, and it will be a tremendous fight. And honestly, it is going to be a fight headlined by 2 international stars. Yair Rodriguez, Mexican. Alexander Volkanovski, Australian. So it fits, right? It fits. But that's not the one they wanted. They wanted Jones Stipe. Jones Stipe was the target. Jones Stipe was supposed to happen, and it seemed as though that was the one that we were going to get. But obviously that's not happening now. I told you guys a couple weeks ago that anytime a big fight is about to happen, the issue usually arises when it comes to finances. You are talking about 2 of the greatest fighters of all time, and I am almost certain it came down to finances. Jones obviously just got a new contract, so you would imagine Jones is pretty happy. So that would lead me to believe that the issue is on the Miocic side. I just hate that Stipe keeps losing so much time, because by the time he walks into that octagon with Jones, targeted Madison Square Garden now, he'll be 41 years old. I'll tell you right now, when I walked into that octagon with him for the final time at 41, there was slippage. I wasn't the same guy. Even though I may have convinced myself that I was not the same guy. And he may be able to convince himself that he's very, very similar to the person from before. It'll be hard to compete at that level at 41 years old against a guy that's still rocking and rolling in Jones. So I hate that time continues to be an issue for my man Stipe Miocic. But we get Volkanovski versus Rodriguez, and we get Brandon Moreno versus Pantoja. Tremendous fight. 2 tremendous fights. International Fight Weekend. It's exactly what the fight card is supposed to be. But it wasn't the one that we wanted. It wasn't the one we were supposed to get. We were supposed to get 2 of the greatest of all time fighting against each other. And we're not going to see that now. That's unfortunate. Jamahal Hill said, "It sucks to me that Jones is going to retire because I would have liked to have had a chance against him." The thing about Jamahal Hill, I feel like after watching him fight Glover, there were a lot of doubters. But I think there are much fewer today because of the heart, the skill, how focused he was in the fight, but also how much Jamahal Hill gave of himself inside that octagon against Glover Teixeira. It was a tremendous fight, and we saw Jamahal Hill really come of age. We had seen Jamahal lose before, but when you watched him in that fight, you question, like, how did he lose? You question how he would have those hiccups inside the octagon. It doesn't seem like he's going to do that anymore. Now he's saying stuff like, you know what, man, I would have loved to have an opportunity to fight this dude Jones. Because when you're the best in the world, or you aspire to be the best in the world, you want to be fighting the best there is. And right now, and for a long time, that's been Jon Jones. He's been at the very top of the mixed martial arts world for a really, really long time. People recognize that. That's why he, more than anyone else, gets called out. And the one thing about Jones that's so smart, it's really, really smart. He doesn't respond. He doesn't respond to everybody. He responds to the people that have enough cachet to where when he does, people take note of it. Because if Jon Jones responds to everyone that calls his name, it'd be stupid. Because there are so many people that speak about Jon Jones. But I think Jamahal Hill is on the right path, though. Because at least he puts himself on the radar of Jones, being that Jones is up at heavyweight now. But at least he puts himself on the radar. But again, when you're the best in the world, all you want to do is challenge yourself. To me, that seems like what Jamahal Hill is trying to do. Before we get to Nate Diaz and Conor, and before we talk about Michael Bisping's ass, I think Bisping actually might know some shit that we don't. We gotta pay some bills. The video today is brought to you by the Game Time app. The Game Time app is the last-minute ticket purchasing leader. No matter what you're trying to do, guys, football, basketball, soccer, UFC, concerts, comedy shows, no matter what you're trying to do, go to the Game Time app to find those last-minute tickets and purchase them at a very discounted rate. And if it's not discounted enough, how about we hook you up? Use the promo code DCTV and we'll give you $20 off of your first purchase. It does not matter where you are in the world. Get out and do something fun and use the Game Time app to do that. Use the promo code DCTV and get $20 off of your very first purchase. Nate Diaz had his press conference with Jake Paul yesterday. Kind of trolled himself. He was like talking about how weak the press conference was, and Jake's like, wait, dude, you're the promoter. It's a difference, right? He's out on his own, and he's going to do really well. But even in that, even on the eve of what is supposed to be the biggest fight of his career, Nate still had his eyes focused on the unfinished business that is Conor McGregor. So to me, that tells me Nate's going to go back to the UFC, because where else can him and Conor fight and complete their trilogy outside of the UFC? The UFC is smart enough to know that you do not allow this fight to take place anywhere else. He said him and Conor need to settle the score. It's 1-1. You guys all remember what happened the first time. Nate Diaz and Conor on short notice submits him. One of the biggest upsets in UFC history. At the time, at least thought to be, because of what Conor had done up to that point and what Nate Diaz was before that fight. Because Nate was always a good fighter, but he had never really hit that stratosphere that he ended up hitting after he beat Conor McGregor and submitted him on that night in Las Vegas. They run it back. Conor wins the decision. Very close fight, but again, it showed Conor McGregor was able to rely on his heart to get the job done and beat Nate Diaz in the rematch. We always have wanted that third fight, but it seemed like it was further from happening than ever when Nate walked away. But it seems like to me now that his eyes are still here enough that if this Jake Paul thing goes sideways, Nate Diaz comes back and says, yeah, I've got some big fights left in the UFC. One of them being Conor McGregor. And that's one that I believe Conor McGregor would take. You know, we watched Conor's movements as he was preparing for this comeback after the injury. And there were all these people calling him out, and you just said right away, hey, he would fight Michael Chandler. Because Michael Chandler is a guy that's going to stand in front of him and try to stand and trade with Conor. We were right. Conor's fighting Michael Chandler. But to me, the best news coming out of the Jake Paul Nate Diaz press conference was Nate Diaz has still got his eyes set on finishing his trilogy. And that's fun for anyone that loves the UFC, me being one of those guys. Last topic, Michael Bisping said, Jon Jones saying that Francis would be something that he would consider staying around for. And Mike kind of jumping on it, saying, maybe Jones, does Michael Bisping know something we don't know? Because look, Michael Bisping's got some great relationships inside the UFC. I don't know what Francis is doing, but you saw his post the other day in front of the Mercedes, just me fumbling the bag. Maybe Francis isn't hurting as much as we think. Maybe because Francis isn't just out there boasting and pushing out, I'm doing this, and this. Maybe the dude's not hurting. Maybe Francis got this shit all under control. And the way Bisping was talking in the interview, I'm watching him, is making me believe, wow, maybe he knows something. Maybe he know that the UFC is back talking to Francis. Maybe he knows something. Come on, Michael Bisping. Let us know something because we want to see Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou. I know I do. I'm all in on that fight because I think that fight would blow the roof off of any arena that they put these two into. And I believe that's the one that will get Jones excited. It'll challenge him mentally. It'll challenge him physically, but also mentally for his preparation to be ready and more ready than ever because he understands the challenges ahead of him in Francis Ngannou. What your boy Michael Bisping know? Where he at? Where he been? Because I ain't seen Bisping for a little bit. Where Bisping been? Has Mike been taking trips to Vegas, having little private conversations? What do you know? Michael Bisping. Shoot me, man. Text me. Shoot me a message. Let me know what you know so I can feel good about what's going on in case we get to see the fight that we want to see. UFC 290 is set. It's going to be a fight card that we are going to love. We didn't get the main event we wanted, but Alexander Volkanovski is an absolute savage. And I'm tuning in every time he fights. Jamahal Hill wants a shot at the man. Jamahal Hill's got some business with Yair Rodriguez if he's back. But I do believe that the fights this weekend could say a lot in terms of what Jamahal Hill may see next if Yair isn't back. Because if Anthony Smith looks good, they were already scheduled before Jamahal won the belt. Maybe it's Anthony Smith against Jamahal Hill. We'll see. And then Stipe Jones fighting in Madison Square is what I'm hearing. And hopefully Michael Bisping gives me a phone call and lets me know just what's going on with Francis Ngannou. Because I want to know what the big man's been up to. Maybe I'll shoot him a text message after this. All right, guys, this is my wrap up. Next week, I'm back with 3 rounds. Until next time, though, thank you for all the love and support. Like, subscribe, and tell your friends, tell your friend that DC's got a YouTube channel. He's dropping a lot of content. Let's go.